United Arab Emirates leaves OPEC. Wow, 3 dead from virus outbreak. I ain't like the first lockdowns. And Spirit Airlines shuts down. We got a lot of current events for y'all today. I apologize. Had some family in town last week, so I skipped the current events on Friday. I believe I didn't even do the show last week, but we're back. This is the foundation where we understand incorrect information incorrectly applied can get you hurt. Correct information incorrectly applied can get you hurt. So we're always looking to apply correct information correctly. I am Sot L, seeker of truth L, speaker of truth L. And let's jump into these current events. This is something amazing. Make sure you check out welcome to thefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list at the very least. We had a contact page. You could type some stuff in, type in your question or something, and we had to delete that. We had nothing but spam. And then the spam was overloading the actual real contacts. So if you have a question, just any question, no purchase required, no commitment required. Just shoot us an email, admin@welcometothefoundation.com. Sign up for the email lists. We are definitely going to be moving forward and doing our dance. So we would like for you to join us. Check out silver. Silver right now, $72, 85, 84-ish. It's kind of been trading sideways, I would say, since about Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, now today, Monday, we have gold at $4,517 right now. And, you know, that's just the thing. Dollar cost average, y'all. $85.52 on the Shanghai spot price for silver, $72.83. The Western spot price. You're going to see the bifurcation of the markets. It's already happened. You can look at these numbers and see they're bifurcated, but you're also going to see the divergence of actual commodity prices between Eastern markets and Western markets, predominantly due to currency issues, fluctuations, things of that nature. You know, the war in Iran, things are really happening. Speaking of happening, the explosion of U.S. debt is wiping out the safety premium of Treasury bonds, and time is running out for an orderly fiscal solution. This is from the International Monetary Fund. This is a big deal. Soaring U.S. debt. Now, this is nothing new to us. We've seen this happening. You know, I've been paying attention to the debt like seriously probably for about the past 20 years or so. It was like 15 trillion or something, 10 trillion, somewhere around there when I first started like looking at it and wondering what exactly was going on. But soaring U.S. debt is causing Treasury bonds to lose their risk advantage over other securities, making it more expensive to borrow money, the International Monetary Fund warned. Treasuries have long enjoyed the status of the world's top safe haven asset because it's the world's reserve currency, the dollar is, but annual budget deficits are now at $2 trillion, rapidly piling on to the $39 trillion national debt total, with interest costs alone reaching $1 trillion a year. That means the Treasury Department must issue more and more fresh debt, testing the appetites of bond investors who have already shown signs of waning demand. There was a Treasury bond offer a few weeks ago. From what I understand, I can't find it and verify it. So I will say, take this with a grain of salt, because I've been looking for the numbers. I can't verify it, but there was a Treasury offer and no one bought. I believe it was the 30-year. The 5-year kind of went, and the 10-year was all right, but the 30-year, nobody wanted it. And that's supposedly unprecedented. Once again, I can't find confirmation on that. But, you know, it seems like something that would be kind of left under the rug or not really published or produced publicly. The result has been higher yields with the Iran war and higher defense spending expected to worsen the debt outlook further. Quote, the increase in U.S. Treasury security supply is compressing the safety premium that U.S. Treasuries have traditionally commanded, an erosion that pushes up borrowing costs globally. The IMF said in the report issued last week. The emergency lender pointed out that the spread between AAA rated corporate bond yields and Treasury yields has compressed, which is basically saying AAA corporate bond yields are coming more in line with the Treasury yields. That's going to be a bad thing. If the Treasuries aren't the hottest thing in the world anymore, we're gonna have some serious inflation issues. Let's not talk about the gasoline prices. In fact, U.S. debt is competing against a record supply of corporate debt, especially from so-called AI hyperscalers spending hundreds of billions a year, pushing Treasury yields higher. The IMF also said the international convenience yield of Treasuries, meaning their safety and liquidity premium, has actually turned negative recently. Quote, in other words, Treasuries now offer a higher yield than the synthetic dollar equivalents for hedged G10 sovereign bonds, end quote. The erosion of U.S. debt's risk advantage can also be seen in other areas of the bond market. While investors have balked at Treasuries recently, investors have balked at Treasuries recently. Okay, so maybe that's some confirmation of, what a good friend of mine told me. Demand has surged for debt issued by sovereign, supranational, and agencies like the World Bank and the European Investment Bank. The past week, a $4 billion auction for 3-year European Investment Bank bonds drew more than $33 billion of orders. According to the Financial Times, the result was a yield of 3.82%, just 4 hundredths percent points above comparable treasuries. Ouch. In the secondary market, SSA dollar bond yield spreads versus treasuries have also fallen to a few hundredths of a percentage point recently. At the same time, the supply of U.S. debt has exploded. Demand has also shifted, with global central banks becoming less prominent buyers, while hedge funds have taken on bigger roles. And that would be U.S. hedge funds. Why not? I don't think that's international hedge funds. On top of that, the Treasury Department has increasingly relied on short-term debt that needs to be rolled over more frequently, exposing it to sudden changes in market conditions. Quote, hedge funds own a record high 8% of U.S. Treasuries, and with combined repo and prime brokerage borrowing exceeding $6 trillion, any forced unwind of these leveraged positions could send shockwaves through global fixed income markets, end quote. There's a repo market. It's overnight repo. Banks borrow from the Federal Reserve for overnight at certain rates just to, make sure all their books and stuff are square. If that repo didn't allow for all banks to get the borrowed money or currency that they required for that overnight requirement or something, these banks are going to start dumping treasuries, is what they're saying. And when they start dumping treasuries, we're going to have a serious inflation in the currency. It's going to cost way more currency to get the same goods and services. That's horrendous. Hedge funds own a record 8%. That's crazy. In the IMF's view, the U.S. faces inescapable arithmetic and urge Washington to stabilize its debt trajectory by taking action on both its revenue as well as its expenditures, including entitlement programs, Social Security, veterans benefits. U.S. debt is already 100% of GDP and will top 150% by 2055. I was going to say 2055. What is 2055? Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. As Social Security and Medicare outlays jump, according to the Congressional Budget Office, the window for orderly fiscal adjustment is narrowing. Advanced economies with large debt loads need concrete, well-sequenced consolidation measures, not aspirational, medium-term targets. International Monetary Fund, y'all. This is something that I would definitely pay attention to. I didn't want the video to get shadow banned or hit or whatever. I don't know. So I didn't put this in the title. UAE leaves OPEC in major blow to global oil producers group. I don't know if y'all heard about this. This happened just a few days ago. The United Arab Emirates said Tuesday, so this is last week, it was quitting OPEC, dealing a heavy blow to the oil producers group as an unprecedented energy crisis triggered by the Iran war exposes discord among Gulf nations. The loss of the UAE, a long-standing OPEC member, could weaken the group, which has usually sought to show a united front despite internal disagreements over geopolitics and production quotas. Generally, OPEC, they keep oil production at a certain level. They don't produce too much and they don't produce too little. UAE could upend that, produce more, reduce prices for the group. I'm going to call them what they are. The cartel, that will cause the cartel to lose money, right? So if you have these things going on with the United States, you have OPEC being challenged, potentially UAE producing more oil, which would drop the cost of oil, which would cost Western countries, specifically the U.S., money or profits. Let's just say profits. Also, you have the thing going on with the treasuries. You have the war. There's a lot of stuff going on, y'all. And I think, right now, people are going to look back on April, May, February, things of that nature, and wish that they did things differently, because this is coming regardless of what we think or what we know. U.S. says 2 American flagged merchant vessels have gone through Strait of Hormuz. This could be contested. Also, they're saying that the U.S. ship was not struck by fire, even though Iran sources say it was. I'm kind of paying attention to this. I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, be compulsive or obsessive about, geopolitics and what's going on. I suggest you don't either. But I stay aware and I stay up to date. And that's what we're doing here, trying to keep you up to date, because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different sources. There's social media influencers who don't have any real background or experience that are acting as newscasters and stuff. This stuff is crazy. So we're just going to keep it moving. Listen, 3 cruise ships passengers dead, others ill after suspected HANTA virus outbreak. Here's what we know. Have you heard about this? I don't know if you've heard about this. They tried to get us. They can't get us. Check this out. 3 people are dead and at least 3 others are sick after suspected outbreak of HANTA virus aboard a cruise ship sailing in the Atlantic Ocean. The WHO said yesterday the 3 dead were cruise passengers on the MV Hondius, said Oceanwide Expeditions, the company that operates the ship. The vessel is currently anchored in Praia, the capital of Cape Verde, an island nation off the west coast of Africa. Oceanwide Expeditions said in a statement today that 149 people remain on board the ship, including 17 Americans. They will not be allowed to disembark at Cape Verde. Health Minister Maria de Luz Lima told Radio Cabo Verde on Sunday. However, local health authorities have visited the ship and assessed 2 symptomatic crew members, quote, requiring urgent medical care, end quote. HANTA virus can cause a severe and often deadly respiratory illness called hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which killed Betsy Arakawa, the wife of the late actor Gene Hackman, last year. Humans most commonly become infected through contact with rodents such as rats and mice, especially with their urine droppings and saliva, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Just one type of hantavirus, the Andes virus, is known to be able to transmit from person to person, but it is rare. It is primarily found in Chile and Argentina, where the ship originated. Still, health authorities emphasize that the outbreak does not represent a public health threat. Quote, there is no need for panic for travel restrictions, end quote. Here's what we know about the suspected outbreak on the ship, the MV Hondius. First left Ushuaia. Yo, man, English just makes it difficult to just pronounce anything else outside of any other. I'm done. In Argentina, about 7 weeks ago, according to the data from marine traffic, which identified it as a Dutch flagged passenger cruise ship, and made stops in Antarctica before returning to the place I can't pronounce for a night and leaving again on April 1st. It then stopped at the British overseas territory of St. Helena before anchoring Sunday in Praia. Along the way, passengers visited some of the world's most remote islands where they would have seen much wildlife. There's an R missing from there. It's WHEE. Y'all see how these writers do, trying to make us look, hey, look at that. They would have seen much of the wildlife, including whales, dolphins, penguins, and seabirds, according to the trip's itinerary. They also saw some rats somehow. When it reached Praia, the vessel was not authorized to dock at the port. Cape Verde's health ministry said Monday, citing a need to protect the country's public health. It is being monitored by the health authorities and specialists. We're going to keep you posted on this. Global pandemic treaty finalized without U.S. in a victory for multilateralism. 3 years in the making, the accord aims to increase equity and avoid errors of COVID-19 pandemic. This happened last year. This was in 2025. Matter of fact, this was over a year ago. Did you know about this? I didn't know about this. It took an extension to the extension of the extension. But more than 3 years of negotiation, governments around the globe, but notably not the United States, have finally agreed on a treaty to improve how the world prevents, prepares for, and responds to future pandemics, including the basics of a system to share vaccines and drugs more equitably than during the COVID-19 pandemic. Quote, the nations of the world made history in Geneva today, and quote, the negotiations have moved mountains to reach agreement on many issues. This is Nina Schwalbe. The treaty was negotiated by World Health Organization's 194 member states, with one exception, the U.S., a major player in the negotiations until recently dropped out after President Trump announced in January that his administration will withdraw the country from WHO. The 30-page treaty, which covers everything from protecting health workers and strengthening capacities to regulate new drugs and vaccines to reducing risk of pathogens spilling over from animals to humans, is now ready to be adopted by the World Health Assembly, an annual meeting of World Health member states next month. Let's get down to it. How to ensure developing countries, here we go. One was how to ensure developing countries that share information about pathogens circulating within their borders also get a fair share of vaccines, diagnostics, and drugs during the pandemic. For this, the treaty establishes a so-called pathogen access and benefit sharing system. Intertwined with this issue was how to encourage the transfer of technology that would allow countries to manufacture future pandemic products themselves. Man, where is this? The details of the PAB system were another bone of contention until the end. There was general agreement about the need for countries to share information, and the final compromise. Manufacturers committed to donate 10% of their production to distribute by the WHO, with the target of offering another 10% at affordable prices. But the details still need to be hammered out. Man, there was a spot down here. They were talking about sending the biohazard material, the viruses and stuff to each other to be studied by each other. So they're gonna transit these viruses and things throughout the world. It's I don't know what you think about that. Microsoft plans first ever voluntary employee buyout for up to 7% of its U.S. employees. So they offered a voluntary buyout. You take the money, and if you don't take the money, a year or so later, they're just going to fire you. Microsoft will offer voluntary buyouts to some U.S. employees, a first for the 51-year-old software giant, as the tech industry grapples with major changes sparked by the artificial intelligence boom. About 7% of U.S. employees are eligible. According to a person familiar with the plans who asked not to be named because the number isn't being made public, the one-time retirement program announced in a memo last Thursday will be available to U.S. workers at the senior director level and below, whose years of employment and age add up to $70 or more. So however many years you've been there and then however old you are, if it adds up to 70. But if you're not eligible for this, wait until the next round of layoffs. Microsoft has been ramping up capital spending on data centers to supply cloud clients with computing power that can handle generative AI models. Technology peers such as Alphabet and Amazon are doing the same. Meanwhile, software stocks are getting hammered as coding tools from Anthropic and others threaten to disrupt established companies. Last year, Microsoft removed some costs through multiple rounds of layoffs. As of June 2025, the company had 228,000 employees, with 125,000 in the U.S. Quote, our hope, over half the employees are in the U.S., but there's 100,000 that aren't. Our hope is that this program gives those eligible the choice to take that next step on their own terms with generous company support, end quote. Amy Coleman said, additionally, Microsoft is adjusting the way it doles out stock to employees for annual rewards. The company will no longer make managers tie stock directly to cash bonuses. This way, managers have more flexibility to meaningfully recognize high performance. You can take the buyout or you can get the next round of layoffs. Amazon targets mass hiring with agentic software. Goal to humanize AI. And I want to tell you, there's a lot of people that are betraying us. I say that jokingly. But there are a lot of humans that are being paid to train AI in what they do. Whether it's painting, manufacturing, observing, identifying. There's a lot of people getting paid to train AI. I'm talking about people like you and I. People like you and I. It's like a 9 to 5 that has no equity, will not be here in a few years because once they're trained, I'm sorry, I digress. Let me get back on topic. Amazon, which hires hundreds of thousands of workers every year for the holiday rush, announced new software meant to speed up the process by excising a sizable chunk of the human element, the face-to-face job interview. Excising, it's over, it's gone. No more face-to-face job interview, at least for Amazon, but this is the start. Everybody else, most other companies, that just add on once they see, the bottom line. If it makes the company 1% more in profits or save the company 1% in expenses, they're going to pile on. The company announced the software offerings at an event where the CEO of Amazon Web Services, as well as executives from OpenAI, are expected to appear. Amazon in February said it would invest up to $50 billion in OpenAI, and Microsoft said on Monday it would lose exclusive access to some of OpenAI's technology, clearing the path for ChatGPT Creator to sell its product to others. A focus of the event is autonomous artificial intelligence software known as agents that can run processes with little to no human intervention. The hope is that such agents can plan, decide, and act on their own, a fast-growing field that has also sparked concerns over safety and oversight. Alphabet last week signaled it is also pushing deeper into enterprise software with its own AI agents, following others like OpenAI and Anthropic. Amazon's new mass hiring software called ConnectTalNet will help firms find, screen, and recruit workers needed for large-scale hiring, such as retailers during the peak holiday season. Using artificial intelligence, ConnectTalNet can conduct AI-led interviews around the clock and prepare notes for recruiters, all without human intervention. Amazon last year hired around 250,000 seasonal workers leading up to the holidays. Quote, the experience continued to get better and better each iteration we go through. There's some art around making that voice interaction natural and human. It's going to get to a point where you're not even going to tell you're talking to AI. It's going to get to a point where you can't even tell the difference between artificial intelligence generated videos and actually real videos. And then Let the mental wars begin, because you want to talk about psychic attacks. McDonald's is quietly ditching a popular in-store feature nationwide. You know what it is? You can't refill your own drinks. I'm just going to tell you. They're going to put it behind the counter. So not most people, there's going to be a number of people who are no longer going to get refills just because of the human interaction. There's a lot of people, especially like the younger generations, who just don't like to talk to people. They like to text. They like to send videos and stuff. They'll talk to their camera to record a message to another person versus just texting them or giving them a call or FaceTiming them. So those people, that population is going to save McDonald's money because they're going to get less refills and it's going to hit their bottom line. And then watch, they're going to introduce a fee for refills, and McDonald's does it. Every Arby's, Burger King, all those spots are going to follow. All of them. Say goodbye to free refills. The transition is expected to roll out gradually as restaurants are remodeled, with completion planned by 2032. You will own nothing to be happy. You can't even get your own refill. McDonald's is quietly ending the era of self-serve soda fountains nationwide. The shift, years in the making, is part of a broader effort by McDonald's to modernize its restaurants, reduce labor and maintenance demands, and adapt to changing consumer habits that increasingly favor takeout, delivery, and drive-through service over dining. That's a bunch of BS. Modernize its restaurants. How do you modernize a restaurant with fountain drinks? Reduce labor and maintenance demands. So if you move the fountain machine from the lobby and dining area behind the counter where the employees are, how does that reduce labor and maintenance demand? They still have to clean it and they're still going to have to stock it. It's just so they don't have to take those 14 steps from behind the counter to the soda machine. I'm just saying, listen, critical thinking, and adapt to changing consumer habits that increasingly favor takeout, delivery, and drive-through service over dining. What? They have a soda machine at the drive-through. We all know it. Most of the times you can see it. It's right there. You can watch them fill your cup. So if there's a soda machine in the drive-through, there's a soda machine, and I don't even eat fast food, so I don't really care, but it's the point, right? What's the point? Y'all follow me, or am I tripping? Let me know if I'm tripping. I really like the comments, y'all, because I just be in my own head sometimes, and who knows, man, I could be crazy. Sometimes I wonder. Spirit Airlines shuts down immediately, stranding travelers. Here's how to get your money back. Spirit Airlines' abrupt shutdown has left many travelers scrambling for answers, especially when it comes to getting their money back. The budget carrier announced Saturday that it was canceling all flights as it started winding down operations effective immediately. Customers who book directly with Spirit using a credit card will be automatically refunded to their original form of payment. Quote, all flights booked with credit and debit cards are in the process of being automatically refunded. The majority of guests who booked travel on a credit card or debit card were refunded as of Saturday evening, with a small percentage continuing to process. Refunds may take time to appear in guests' accounts. Shutdown. Overnight shutdowns of an airline. And yeah, man, the Iran war is getting crazy. Gas prices are up, but man, this is the first airline that shuts down. I'm saying it's not going to be the last. That's what I'm saying. As long as this so-called military operation continues in Iran and that Strait of Hormuz is messed up, this is crazy. And I never flew Spirit. It was crazy. Maybe I did once and vowed to never do it again. But this was a while ago. All flights were canceled. Meanwhile, those who purchase tickets through third-party vendors, including travel agencies, will need to reach out to those providers to request refunds, according to the airline. That makes sense because they refunded the providers. And now you got to go to the provider and get your money back. Passengers who use vouchers, travel credits, or loyalty points to book face more uncertainty. How do you cash out those points? Those claims will be handled through Spirit's bankruptcy process. Oh, man. Oh, that's terrible. Customers can find more details on the airline's restructuring website. The DOT warns that refunds could become complicated as proceedings move forward and outlines steps travelers can take to try to recover their money. Options include contacting your credit card company to request a chargeback, checking traveling insurance coverage, or submitting a claim in bankruptcy court, according to the Department of Transportation. Man, I hope none of y'all were affected by this. JetBlue, Frontier shares rise as Spirit shutdown makes room for growth. Yeah, I mean, who's going to pick up those flights? And there's going to be, I would say, a certain class of travelers that no longer can travel because I believe Spirit was one of the cheapest airlines to fly on. I see this as part of lockdowns. And not like, the public is locking down. Shares of Frontier Airlines and JetBlue Airways rose today after rival Spirit Airlines shut shop, fueling hopes the carriers can capture market share, control prices, and absorb displaced passengers. JetBlue shares were up 3%, Frontier gained 6%. The bankrupt carrier Spirit ceased operations on Saturday, becoming the industry's first casualty tied to the Iran war after failing to win creditor backing for a U.S. government bailout plan. U.S. jet fuel prices have surged following U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. Spirit canceled all flights and began a structured wind down, ending a 34-year run built on a no-frills model that lost appeal after the panorama as more travelers opted for comfort. Its exit could give rivals room to gain market share while easing the fare wars that have squeezed margins across the U.S. airline industry. That's the opposite for consumers. So if you're buying, if the producers of a service or product that you acquire don't compete in prices, and if the competition loosens up, that means prices are going to raise or increase for the consumer. Spirit had 4,119 domestic flights scheduled between May 1st and May 15th, offering 809,638 seats, according to the data from aviation analytics firm Cirium. Both Frontier and JetBlue once pursued Spirit, with Frontier moving first in early 2022, through a cash and stock merger deal. JetBlue later outbid Frontier in a bidding war that ended in a $3.8 billion agreement, but the tie-up was blocked by a federal judge and on antitrust grounds in 2024. Google co-founder rips California billionaire tax, quote, "I fled socialism." Google co-founder Sergey Brin slammed the proposed billionaire tax in California, likening it to socialism that he fled with his family from the former Soviet Union. Brin is one of the billionaires who relocated out of the Golden State to avoid potential wealth tax that expected to appear on California's voters' ballots this fall. The proposal would impose a one-time 5% tax on residents whose net worth exceeds $1 billion. Assets covered by the tax may include businesses, securities, art, collectibles, intellectual property, though real property, pensions, and certain retirement accounts would be exempt. Quote, "I fled socialism with my family in 1979 and know the devastating, oppressive society it created in the Soviet Union. I don't want California to end up in the same place." We've seen a difference, economies are, Unitree G1 humanoid robot, ice skates, and rollerblades, man. Let's play this. Make sure it's muted. Something went wrong. What's the error 2? Hey, y'all tell me what is error 2? If you work for Fox, let me know. We're trying to play this real quick. Small boats, funds, what is this? That's not what we're talking about. Let's find it. Here it is. Unitree's G1 humanoid robot glides on wheels, rollerblades, and ice skates, showing off sharp balance, spins, and even a flip. Remember I showed y'all the Chinese robots? When you actually watch the video, a few moments really stand out. It starts with the robot leaning into motion. Man, where is it? Where's the video? I thought this was the video. But that's not the video. I was thinking ice skate. Then it pulls off a series of spins and an impressive flip, landing clean on 2 wheels and continuing without missing a beat. No hesitation. Next, It switches to rollerblades and moves with the same level of control. It glides, does some fancy footwork, changes direction, and even lifts one leg while spinning and staying balanced. Like it's second nature. That alone would be impressive. But the real wow moment comes at the end. On ice, the robot starts doing smooth twirls, almost like it's figure skating, while holding its posture without slipping. That's when you start to see how far humanoid robots have come. It's on wheels, man. Imagine a robot just rollerblading up to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like the police or something trying to pull you over. This is getting crazy. Elon Musk teases a future run by robots. Elon Musk has shared a new alarming video on social media that paints a world where humanoid robots slide into nearly every corner of our daily lives. The clip features Tesla's Optimus robot performing tasks ranging from physical labor to cooking. Musk paired the video with a sweeping promise that robots will raise global wealth and make work optional. I don't believe that. If they tell you that you're going to be rich with robots, then you don't fight it. But then when the robots are here, you can't fight back because the robots will tear you up. Robots feel no pain. Robots. We're living in the future, y'all. This is wild. This is this is wild. Tell me what you think. Y'all enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's very important. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow on current events. Peace, y'all.